Get your earballs ready. Welcome to the Gregg and Tim Show podcast. Take time to sit back and relax and enjoy the show. Here are your hosts, Gregg and Tim.
Well, welcome to the Gregg and Tim Show. As always, am Tim, and this is my very special.
Special?
What are you? You're my co-host.
I'm the host.
You're co-host.
I'm the host.
We're both co-hosts.
And we're
both co-hosts.
You're the other guy.
You're the host. I'm the other guy.
Yeah, it's
that
like Gregg and the other guy.
We're both hosts.
It's like
you're my co-host.
It's like
and
Dave
I'm your
Matthews
co-host.
Band. You know, like Dave Matthews is the host.
So I'm the band.
And you're the band. Anyway, we got a special episode today.
So we have a special episode today. We are talking to a gentleman who's played 16 years in Major League Baseball.
Won a World Series.
Teams. Won a World Series with the Florida Marlins. Played for the Toronto Blue Jays for a couple years.
Yeah, this is exciting.
It's very exciting.
He's virtually in the studio today.
Virtually in the studio. We did a remote call with him on video, and it was awesome. He had some great answers, some great insight.
Oh my goodness, there's some fun stuff in this one. If you're watching, you're in for a ride.
We had a lot of fun. I know you will have a lot of fun watching it. So
this will be a blast.
Without further ado, I give you Gregg Zaun.
Gregg Zaun.
Grab your phone. It's podcast time. It's the Gregg and Tim Show. It's the Gregg and Tim Show.
It's my pleasure to introduce Gregg Zaun. He's a former Major League Baseball player. He played catcher for 9 teams over 16 seasons from 1995 until 2010. He won a World Series championship with the 1997 Florida Marlins. I'm wearing my Marlins cap here today. If you don't like the Marlins, I have other caps that I could put on instead.
He's got about 50 caps.
Zaun was known for his excellent defensive skills and his ability to handle pitchers. He was also a switch hitter, which made him a valuable asset in the lineup. After retiring from baseball, Zaun transitioned to broadcasting and worked for an on-air personality with Sportsnet in Canada from 2006 to 2017. In 2023, he became the bench coach of the Glacier Range Riders of the Pioneer League. Zaun is known for his candid and outspoken personality, which is why we love him. We are excited to hear more about his experiences and insights into the world of baseball, pick his brain about what to expect in spring training, and maybe we'll get him to roast a couple guys along the way if that's something he wants to do. I know that it might not be, but we'll see. We'll see, eh? Mr. Zaun, welcome.
Hey, what's going on, fellas? Thanks for having me finally.
I apologize.
On social media, like about time you invited me onto the podcast.
Well, I didn't know if you'd accept it. We spell our names differently, so I know. I didn't know if you held that against me.
No, and mine's artificially enhanced. Mine's Gregg with 3 G's. It's a steroidal.
Just the name.
So I get the question: is your name Gregg with 2 G's? And I always say yes.
It is.
Right.
You're 100% correct. It is 2. One at the beginning, one at the end.
Exactly.
And I'm behind schedule. I was going to change mine to Gregg with 4 G's to just match up the 4G network. But now that there's 5G out there, I couldn't even do it. There's no way. There's just no way.
How do we add a couple extra G's in there? Are you Gregory? Like, were you born Gregory?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the reason why my name, when I spell it, when I just go by Gregg, it's because of my grandfather, George. So when I was 13, I was 13 years old, and my grandfather, being the gregarious guy, it's funny that he was a vaudevillian actor and a big performer.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he's like, he's got 2 sons that played pro ball. My Uncle Rick, 24-year veteran in the big leagues. He looks at me and he goes, "What are you going to do when you grow up?" I said, "I'm going to play ball." He goes, "All right, well, show me your signature." So I sign it Gregg Zaun. He goes, "That's awful." He goes, "That's so boring." This is my grandfather. I'm 13 years old, and he's looking at me like that's the signature I've ever seen in my life. He goes, "Why don't you add a G at the end of it and do it like this?" And the way that he did it is the way I signed my name. It looks like 2 9s at the end of my name, and that's the number that I wore.
Yeah.
There's always a method to my madness. So the extra G is for George, Grandpa George.
Okay.
That's why I put it on there, and I sign it like I sign it because it looks like 2 9s at the end, and I wore number 9 most of my career. And I wore number 9 most of my career because of a bunch of different factors. So my mother's birthday is March 3rd. 3 times 3 is 9. Mine's April 14th. 4 plus 1 plus 4.
Oh, okay.
9.
Mine's June 9th, so that's why 9's my favorite number.
Well, there you go. It's also the 6th month of the year.
That's right.
Yeah, there you
So
go.
my birthday's 69.
There you go.
Read into that whatever you want.
And moving on.
I mean, I was going to say something, but you beat me to it. You know?
I actually have the number 9 tattooed on my, like, on the back of my neck in Roman numerals. And every time I play a sport and I want number 9, people are like, hey, you know, like, I want number 9. I'm like, well, do you have it tattooed on you? And that way I can always get it.
Yeah, that would be a pretty good, mic dropper right there.
Yeah, they can't really argue with it, right?
No, they really can't. I mean, that's real dedication to a number.
Did you have 9 for your whole career?
No, I didn't. Brady Anderson wore 9 when I was in Baltimore.
Right.
So I didn't get there. Lee Stevens wore it in Texas, so I wore upside down 9, which is 6.
Yeah.
And then I went from the Marlins. I wore it. I got to wear it in Florida, but they didn't have it for me in Texas. They didn't have it for me in Detroit. I believe it's retired. Where did I go after that? KC did. Somebody was wearing it when I got there, so I wore 44.
Well, that's a weird number.
It is a weird number, but I ranked at 44 though. I really swung the bat well. I mean, Hank Aaron, what are you going to do with that?
Didn't Jose Canseco wear it for the Jays too?
He might have. I'd like to put Jose Canseco's tenure as a Blue Jay kind of out of my mind. There's two things about Jose: Oakland A's Bash Brothers, and headbutting a ball out of the yard as a Texas Ranger right through.
Oh, yes.
Did you play with him in either of those, with the Jays or with the Rangers?
Huh?
Did you play with him with the Jays or the Rangers?
No.
Okay.
In fact, I don't think I think Jose was with the Tampa Bay Rays
when you were with the Jays.
Somewhere. I don't remember what year he was there, but I know that was probably the only time that our paths ever crossed on a baseball diamond.
Yeah.
By the way, if you haven't seen the documentary on him, I think it's either Netflix or whatever the other one is, Paramount. Watch it. It's fantastic. I mean, you think it's going to be one of those, oh, you know what, I got screwed kind of documentaries.
Yeah.
But he kind of did. Given everything that was going on in the game and the fact that he's the one that got blackballed, holy smokes.
Yeah.
Wow. It was a pretty good documentary.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing he did was he brought out that book, and the book kind of gave him...
Yeah. Well, he threw everybody under the bus because he was mad because nobody would give him a job.
Yeah.
But when you look at his numbers, and he brought it up, and it made me go look. The numbers, like, for the last 5 years of his career were better than the first 5.
Yeah.
And he couldn't get a job. And this is before they even started testing. Before it even became obvious to everybody what was going on.
Yeah.
And that test year, I remember I was a player rep. I told everybody, I said, guys, don't do this. You're going to open Pandora's box. And sure as heck they did, because there were still a ton of free agents that were going into 2003 that were going to be they were free agents at the end of 2002. And they were going with both middle fingers up at the rest of the league. They're like, nah, I'm still going to juice up in my platform here because I'm going to get paid. Yeah. So what if I get juice the next year? I'm already getting paid. And they did it. And the Major League Baseball, if their goal was to start testing guys, they would literally by the hair of their chin did the numbers go beyond the threshold where they were instituting random testing, like by 0.5%.
Yeah.
So, Greg, you talk about Jose Canseco and him getting blackballed by the league. We see examples of this when a league wants to blackball somebody they don't want or interested in what they're hearing. They will blackball him. We see today Trevor Bauer is in that situation where it's gone through the league that nobody should sign this guy. Do you think that's what's happening in his situation?
Yeah, I mean, well, there's also going to be guys who are just don't want the circus, the negative press. But at the end of the day, the thing that's the most disturbing, is, and they did it in the NFL with the quarterback here in Cleveland, whatever his name is,
Colin Kaepernick,
Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson, yes,
not that guy.
Yeah.
He's old. He's old news. It's like they assign themselves to be the moral police, and it's like, oh, wait, we don't care that the Houston Police Department didn't press charges, that the original plaintiff went to 4 law firms before some ambulance chaser would finally take the case, and then advertises a class action suit on social media. Like, come on! Like, how illegitimate could that be? And then you look at what happened with Trevor Bauer, and you sit there and you go, he's got the emails, he's got the texts. All right, Trevor's a bit of a freaky boy, but why? Why is that somehow? Why are his sexcapades open game for everybody in the media? Yeah. He didn't do anything criminally wrong.
Yeah, when you're canceled on social media, though, this, you're canceled, and it doesn't. Facts don't. Yeah, facts don't matter at that point, and people have moved on.
Right, but here's the thing that bothers me, and I don't want anybody to read into this any more than I'm just making a point.
Yeah,
if he was gay or he was anywhere on the alphabet spectrum, his sex life would be off limits.
100% would be, yeah. You're right.
To everybody in the media, unless, of course, he committed a crime.
Yeah, yeah.
So what I don't understand, and I would be very fearful if I was Major League Baseball. How on earth has this guy has he not filed the biggest lawsuit ever? Like, his best money making years were robbed from him for not doing anything criminally wrong. I mean, we can sit up here and take the moral high ground all we want.
Yeah.
But when he's got the emails and texts and it's like, oh, she's basically telling him what to do and he's acquiescing, that should have been the end of it.
Yeah.
Like, how does it even end up in the public? How does it even made public?
Yeah.
His life is over.
Yeah, and he's in a like, what's it called right now? An apologetic state where he's going around and apologizing and saying that he's changed his personal life, where he's not going out and partying as much and going out and doing all these things. So do you think that he'll get signed this year?
I hope so, because you know what, he was a hard guy to like.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you he was one of my favorite players. You can't argue with the stuff. You can't argue with the on the mound stuff.
Yeah.
I was really not a fan of him basically throwing $1,500 rewards out there to encourage minor leaguers to act like jerks.
Yeah.
Go pimp this and you'll win the of the week award, and I'll pay you $1,500.
Wasn't he one of your roasts though during the 2016?
Yeah, when he cut his hand up with the drone. Yeah, of course. Of course. That'd be like, I mean, what was the difference between that and going out in the parking lot on your dirt bike and doing wheelies before the game?
Yeah.
Oh, gee, I fell and I broke my wrist. Like, I'm surprised it took this long. You're like, yeah, of course I did. Because,
we've got some insight into that though now, right? Because now we see like all of his YouTube stuff and all the stuff that he's actually doing. I think that was probably like a precursor to what he was going to start doing to try to promote Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I just, everybody has their own personality.
Yeah.
And for me, and I tell young players this all the time now that I'm back in the coaching world, and even some of the kids I just met I just feel like, you know what, guys, be judged for what you do on the baseball diamond.
Yeah.
You know, not what you're doing off the field. I mean, you think about Manny being Manny.
Yeah.
Well, Manny being Manny was cute when he was driving in 125 runs a year for your ball club. As soon as he stopped driving in 125, now all of a sudden we're wondering, it's not so cute when he dives to try to cut the ball off from Johnny Damon in left field. You're like, what on earth are you doing, you moron?
It's cute as a Jays fan, though.
It's very cute as a Jays fan. It was nice to watch.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you put up with a lot from players when they're performing at a high level. You deal with the quirks of their personalities, you know. And I always thought that, you know, Trevor was a quirky guy.
Yeah.
But do I want him on my team pitching every fifth day? Hell yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
He's got electric stuff.
Yeah. And his work ethic is through the roof.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he's a guy, like I said, he's a strange boy. And I'm not even just talking about the stuff he does in the bedroom. I'm talking about and that's saying a lot coming from me, you know.
I watched a lot of his he put out his vlogs all the time, right? And he has that one guy who actually played for Eric Sim. Do you know who Eric Sim is? Yeah, he played for the Gold Eyes here in Winnipeg. So he was a catcher and a pitcher. I don't know how he did either of those things. He wasn't great, but he played for the Gold Eyes here in Winnipeg. And watching those guys is hilarious, but it also like brings eyeballs to baseball, right? Like that's the main thing that they're trying to do. He's just trying to be weird.
The reward thing, you know. It's like I never had that extra. You know, I always laugh because, you know, when I got drafted, I had no idea how good I wasn't. I mean, I was because I was a big fish in a big pond coming from Southern California and one of the highest rated catchers in the state at that time. I thought, oh, this is a foregone conclusion. I'm going to be Pudge Rodriguez before I even knew who Pudge was. I was like, I'm going to hit 300 every year. I'll probably hit 20 homers. I'll probably steal 20 bags. I'll hose everybody. We'll win World Series titles. And then all of a sudden I got the Pro Ball and I was a foot shorter and 30 pounds lighter than everybody else. And the wood bat was swinging me. And the only thing I brought to the table that was legitimately big league caliber was my defense at the time.
Yeah.
And it was an eye-opening experience. And then I actually got a chance to back Pudge up the year he won the MVP in '99. And that was a special season for me. What a spectacle that guy was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was insane. And say all you want about the enhancements, I still don't care.
No.
All I know is, you know, you can take whatever you want. You don't turn into that guy or Barry Bonds just by putting something, you know, in your body.
He threw the ball harder from his knees than I could by pushing off with my feet.
Oh, there's no doubt. And, you know, Benito Santiago, same way, you know, catch him, throw the ball from his knees. And that's the hilarious thing I love about this one knee garbage that they're teaching catchers in the big leagues now. I watched guys that are supposedly good throwing catchers, and it looks like they're throwing a cup of oatmeal to second base when they're trying to do it on their knees. You can't do it. I mean, if you're not throwing sub twos from your knees, then get up on your feet and throw the ball down there. I mean, the fact that you have to one hop it is a joke.
Yeah, you got to pop up. You got to get the momentum. And
yeah, don't even get me started on all this newfangled nonsense.
Hey, well,
I'm fixing catchers left and right.
I'm gonna get you started on the newfangled nonsense. What's up with what do you think's the difference between when you caught and now catching the pitchers that are doing like different things, like Stroman doing his little, you know, shimmies, and you got different guys doing timing things, but also you got the pitch clock, right?
Yeah.
So like, how do you think that's affecting them right now?
Well, you know, I mean, I was playing in the American League East during the slowest era of baseball ever. I mean, you watch the Boston Red Sox, New York Yankee games, they were 4-hour, 9-inning affairs.
Yeah.
It was, because every pitch meant so much. So the guys were taking their good time, making sure they went through their pre-pitch routine. They wanted to make sure everything, their left eyelid was tucked in properly and all this other nonsense. But hell, when you got that much riding on it, I get it. And I'm still a purist. The greatest thing about baseball is you can go sit there and not worry about time clock. That was what I loved about it. You could just get away. You could get away from the world and the hustle and bustle and just sit there and let the flow of the game happen. And it's funny because, I coached last summer and they had the pitch clock, and I was like, God, this is awful. I hated how fast it was. I mean, I always liked guys worked fast, work fast, throw strikes, pound down, blah blah blah. The whole, every team had a T-shirt like that, in their bullpen, or that was their pitch mantra. But they've gone too far, just like everything else in the world.
Yeah.
There were certain things about society that needed to be adjusted. Yeah. Well, they went way too far one way, and they've done the same thing with baseball. And Rob Manfred and all of the little things that he's tried to do.
So the pitch clock's going down this year. It's going down by 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
that's crazy. And I can't even get a hot dog in the middle of the innings anymore.
No, and they could have made one adjustment to the game that would have saved everybody all the time in the world. And I say outlaw the mound visits. Period.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the hitting coaches don't get to go to the plate during a big at bat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why should the pitching coach?
Yeah.
And I can tell you based on 22 years of pro ball experience and 16 years in the big leagues, one friggin' mound visit ever did I hear a pitching coach say something that mattered. They're literally out there just because they're superstitious and they're trying to break up a bad rhythm. You can see the guy; he's got the beach ball is spinning. He's in full panic mode, and all they're trying to do is just refocus.
So you're saying that's a better way to make the game go faster. So that's the kind of the logic now in today's, to get the younger generation interested, to quicken the game, because we don't want it 3 hours, 4 hours long, because this next generation has a shorter attention span. I know you work with a lot of youth in developing the game. What do you think are the best ways in which to get this next generation interested in the game of baseball?
Well, stop making it easy for them. I mean, everywhere in society, they're lowering the level of excellence so that everybody can be a part of it.
Everybody gets a participation.
It's called hardball for a reason, because it's hard.
Yeah.
We used to say when we were kids, if everybody could do it, your mom would be playing. That's not what it's supposed to be. You reach a certain point with a glove and a bat and a pair of spikes where you just can't compete at that high level anymore. Yeah. It's time to go play men's league or, become a fan.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone. But like even the Houston Astros and the quote sign stealing nonsense. What a joke. Like seriously, if you can't employ more difficult signs to make it harder on your opponent to steal them, you deserve to get your head kicked in. I used to tell the Blue Jays guys that when I got there, because the Blue Jays organization at that particular point, they weren't teaching anybody anything.
Yeah.
These guys were in the big leagues, and the most difficult set of signs they could use was sign after two, shake first. And they were like, oh, it messes up my rhythm. Your rhythm? Rhythm? Like, well, I want to stay with my bread and butter. I'm like, your bread and butter sucks. There's mold on the bread. There's mold on the bread, dude. You better freaking step outside of yourself, or you're going to get what you deserve, which is your head kicked in every time somebody gets to second base.
So you don't fault the Houston Astros for stealing those signs?
No. I can tell you this without any hesitation whatsoever. The New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox invented crotch cam. They had dedicated cameras. They'll deny it all day long. So they had. Why do you think Jason Varitek is so paranoid? That just changed the signs. He's a coach now, and he's changing the signs every 15 seconds.
Yeah, because
he knew that his team was stealing the signs. They had a crotch cam. Yankees had crotch cam. You know how I know? Because Derek Jeter and A-Rod would get to second base, and they would have the very first sign that I put down. They already knew what it was. So take, for instance, And I'll throw my boy Jason Fraser under the bus. He did not like using difficult signs. One of the guys who did not like it and apparently didn't care. They'd get at second base, and it was like they knew exactly what was coming. First sign. Usually it takes 3 or 4. Definitely by the second hitter if you haven't changed it up, or you're not rotating sign to sign. But they had it right away, and that's why when I knew, because they had the means to go and hire somebody to sit in front of crotch cam and
So you
coming into the game.
You played with Carlos Delgado for 1 year, right?
Yes.
So I read a book about the whole Houston sign stealing thing, and him and Sean Green are named in it as 2 guys that learned from under Cito Gaston and the early 90s Blue Jays on how to figure out tips, like pitch tips.
Yep.
So they went to, like, Delgado apparently was the one that taught Beltran in the Mets organization. Did you get any kind of that stuff when you were, like, did you guys kind of discuss that? Is that something you guys discuss as baseball players?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll tell you, I can tell you right now, we were doing it. Every team I've ever been on, we did it.
Yeah.
If you're dumb enough to use sign after 2, shake first, deserve what you get. It's just, here's the thing. The game got soft.
Yeah.
Major League Baseball stopped allowing players to take care of discipline on the field themselves. So, for instance, when I got to the big leagues, there were guys stealing signs. And the way we handled it was we'd be like, oh, they're relaying signs. Okay, A, use better signs.
Yeah.
B, handle your business. So what I would do is I would tell the guy, throw a fastball under his chin. Yep. And I'd put down slider, and I'd let the guy at second base relay the wrong sign. So now the guy's diving out there for a slider, and now he gets 95 right at his ear flap.
Yeah.
And you sit there, a veteran guy like Cal, or somebody like that. If they knew somebody was trying to relay signs, they could have a conversation with a guy and say, "Hey, you might want to knock that off. You're going to get somebody hurt." Yeah. And this is how we dealt with things back then. You switch the signs up, you smoke somebody, you deal with it.
Yep.
But it's been going on for 100 years. The trash can banging thing, you know how late. That's like so silly. That's the dumbest thing that anybody could ever be mad at. Be mad that you suck. Be mad that you're stupid. Be mad that the organization that you're playing for didn't teach you the finer things about the game as you went on. So here I give you an example on how the minor leagues go. When you get guys and they're in rookie ball and they're in A ball, basically what you're doing is you're teaching them not to eat their boogers anymore.
Yep.
You're teaching them the most fundamental things about the game. Throw the ball, hit the ball, catch the ball.
Yeah.
As you go up each level, you start to add a little bit more responsibility and higher demands on the player. Part of those higher demands as you go up should be employing difficult sets of signs. By the time you get to AAA, it should be about teaching how to play winning baseball. We already know how to throw a fastball down and away. Yeah. We know how to get a bunt down. We can understand why we need to hit a ball on the ground when we get a hit and run sign. We know how to hit the cutoff man. All the fundamental physical things that you should already know how to do when you get to AAA, they're kind of a foregone conclusion. So now we're teaching how to play winning baseball at the big league level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're not doing that anymore. They're trying to teach these guys how to create launch angle. They're worried about spin rate. They're worried about vertical drop. I'm like, what happened to letting the hitters tell you whether this guy can pitch or not?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to start making T-shirts that say "Get mad that you suck." I think you're going to get on that next week.
No, don't get mad. You suck. Isn't that what it was?
I think it's easy to get mad that you suck.
We'll get the quote done.
So don't get mad, get better.
So switching gears for a second, a little background about me, and I think Greg as well. The first baseball team I ever followed when I was 9 years old was the Toronto Blue Jays. In 1985, crushed my heart, but I still remember trying to throw underhand to first base like Tony Fernandez, or try to get a guy out from right field like Jesse Barfield, and I had the big leg kick like Dave Stieb, but I never tried to be a catcher like Ernie Witt. What made you want to become a catcher for your career?
Well, my uncle. Rick Dempsey was my uncle. He caught 24 years in the big leagues. I know he's top 10 all-time games caught, and the only catcher to catch in 4 decades.
Nice.
60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. It's the only one.
Wow.
That's the guy I'm staring at across the dinner table at Christmas, and his younger brother Pat played 11 years in the minor leagues, and those are the guys I hung out with, and that's why. I mean, I could actually run when I was young, up until about 30.
Yeah,
I could run. I was legit above average speed,
and you couldn't find catchers that could run back in the day. Like, it seemed like every catcher was behind the plate for a reason.
Well, I was small and fast.
Yeah.
And then of course over time it took its toll, leg injuries, etc. But a lot of people.
Kirk is also small and fast, but without the S.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a lot of people trying to get me out from behind the plate.
Yeah.
Middle infield. I had good hands and good feet, and I could move. And I was a switch hitter. They were like, "Oh, this might be a good idea for you," because when I got drafted, everybody wanted Carlton Fisk.
Right.
One of the big guys.
Yeah.
And I wasn't. And now all of a sudden they want guys that are exactly built like me. Maximum 6'1", stocky.
Yeah. Somebody that can throw the ball hard and that can block the ball behind the plate, basically.
Yeah, which most guys can't block the ball at all.
And has baseball IQ. So, like Tim said, that he wanted to be all those other guys. I was a catcher growing up. I pitched and caught, and my main reason was because I wanted to touch the ball in every play. Like that. Yeah. That was why I wanted to catch. So when I wasn't pitching, I was catching. I also think that catchers are probably the smartest players on the field at that time.
Some of them,
right? Well,
some of them. Kids nowadays are robots. They call the dumbest I've ever seen in my entire life.
They're following a playbook basically. They're doing it like a football game.
Yeah, they're wearing wristbands with all kinds of stuff on it, or the college kids are getting the signs. They're getting a pitch selection in their ear. Yeah. Like, holy crap! Are you guys kidding me? Like, you got to learn. I remember when Matt Wieters came to Baltimore. I went back to play for the Orioles a second time. It was 2009, and he was in spring training. He was, we called him switch hitting Jesus because he was going to save the Orioles franchise. And he's a good kid. He come up to me and he said, "Hey, can you help me with the game calling?" And I said, "Yeah, I didn't make my living with my bat just yet." I said, "Yeah." I go, "Well, when was the last time you called your own game?" He's like, "Well, last season." I go, "Did you call your pitches in college?" He goes, "No, the coaches called them." I said, "When was the first time you ever called your own game?" He goes, "First day of pro ball."
Oh my goodness.
Oh, you gotta be me. I've been calling my own game since I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
Think about all the mistakes I made over those years, and that's how I learned.
Wow.
Yeah.
You feel the sting of, and I would sit there last year in Glacier, and the pitchers would be huddled around, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, "Watch this dumb mother such and such. He's going to throw this pitch. I can guarantee he's going to do it right now."
Yeah.
And sure enough, he'd throw it, and they'd look at me, and they're like, "Dude, how do you know all this stuff?" I'm like, "Because I watched the stinking game."
Yeah.
Pay attention.
You're a student of the game. Like being a player, broadcaster, and now coach, you've seen all the different aspects, right? Like,
absolutely. But if you're calling a ball game, and this goes for pitchers, catchers, hell, even if you're a hitter, and I think I outthought the other catcher a lot of times. I know I did when we were playing the Yankees because I definitely was smarter than that guy. But you sit there and you go, all right, it was a 2-0 count, and you just beat this guy with 80 or a 92-mile-an-hour four-seamer right down the middle in a hitter's count. Gee, I wonder what he's looking for.
Yeah.
He's certainly looking for a fastball, or maybe he's just got the slowest bat in the history of baseball. But he's sitting on breaking ball. What do? You throw him a changeup, you knucklehead, and you speed up his barrel, and now all of a sudden you're down 2-0.
Yeah, and then you're yeah. I don't understand. Like I can play, what's it called? The show on the Xbox.
MLB.
Yeah,
And like
I raked on that game.
so I could pitch in that game. The hitting is like absolutely atrocious. So I do not rake, but I can pitch. I know what my buddy is looking for in my pitches. And, you know, if I could only throw that in real life, that would be fantastic, but I can't.
People just don't understand the sequencing of pitches, what they look like. I mean, I listen to guys talk about their stuff and their repertoire and what they're trying to do. And I'm like, you guys realize that the only pitch in the history of the game that by design is meant to be thrown as a strike is the four-seam fastball. And when I say that to people, everybody looks at me like I got three heads.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's why. So when you throw the four-seamer at the knees, down and away, the ball is in the strike zone for a millisecond.
Yeah.
It's literally crossing the knees and it's out of the zone.
Yeah.
It's the toughest pitch in baseball to hit. So walk down, go down this rabbit hole with me. So off the four-seamer, down and away, okay, you have slider, or actually I got to go the other way. Okay, fastball, slider. Okay, it starts where the fastball was, and then it goes and it moves out of the strike zone. Okay, curveball, same way. Starts at the same height as the fastball, goes below the strike zone.
Yeah.
Okay. The sinker starts with where the fastball was and sinks out of the strike zone. But these guys are trying to throw sinkers for strikes, cutters for strikes, but they don't realize that the longer the ball is in the hitting zone, the easier it is to hit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Toughest pitch to hit in baseball is a well-located fastball.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why Manoah was hit so bad last year, I think. He was trying to throw sinkers for strikes.
But see, that's the problem with the game. I'll give you a couple of prime examples of how the game fails people. So you take a big arm like Jabba Chamberlain or a big arm like Dellin Betances or Manoah, and you sit there and you go, wow, he's dominating the minor leagues.
Yeah.
Well, no, there's no good players there. There's no good players in the minor leagues anymore. And you know why there's no good players in the minor leagues? Because the signing bonuses are $7 million.
Yeah.
You tell me what you're going to do as soon as a guy that you've got $7 million wrapped up in, as soon as he shows you anything positive, he's going to the big league.
Yeah.
Because you don't want some schlep like me to hurt your golden boy in the minor leagues, and you never get him to the show. If he blows out his knee in the minor leagues or he blows out his arm in the minors, you never get to see him or use him or make use of that $7 million investment.
It's all about the money for sure.
That all over the league.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There are no good players to test your good player.
Yeah,
so
sure.
You have to bring him to the show. And meanwhile, he never learns fastball command.
Yeah.
He never learns how to pitch.
Yeah.
So the first part, that's part one of our Gregg Zaun interview. You're going to have to stay tuned for next week because part two.
Part two,
the deuce.
Yeah. I had so much fun listening to part one. You're going to have even more fun part two. You're going to laugh. I laughed a little bit. I laughed even more the second part.
You actually, there's one point where I had to turn your mic off. You're laughing so loud in part two.
He's a character.
Part two is great. And stay tuned next week. We're going to have part two. And thanks for watching the Gregg and Tim Show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, hit that button so that everybody's earballs get to hear it, right?
You betcha. Earballs, eyeballs, all the balls.
All the balls. Unless you're a girl. Then just the eyeballs. Earballs?
You can have your
both balls.
We have balls. Some women
Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next week.
Cheerio.
Thanks for watching the Gregg and Tim Show podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, and share with all your friends. Sharing is caring.